my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Navigating Wellness. Now, there are many times in our life when it feels like reality is collapsing, but it's collapsing on your face, or perhaps you may find yourself in the depths of emotional upheaval, and it may feel like there's just no end in sight to the emotional drama that you're feeling or encountering in your life. Or perhaps you could be in a situation where you're trying to start up something new, and no matter how much effort that you're putting into this endeavor, it just seems like there's absolutely no progress and all your efforts are just going in vain. Sometimes you may be on a path towards recovery or trying to improve your overall life, and you're taking on this really rigorous routine to try and eat healthier, live a healthier lifestyle, exercise, do all the right things. However, it just feels like you're getting nowhere. And you may have been pushed into these scenarios by circumstances in your life, or just a human thing to experience in life where we encounter these types of situations. And most people tend to come across these types of situations in life, especially when you have a much more emotionally sensitive approach to life. Now, what happens whenever we encounter these types of situations is that we constantly look for distractions. And the reason I'm speaking about it is because I'm no stranger to these types of situations, and I know that generally it's easy to resort to distractions, things like junk foods that may give us that temporary dopamine high, but pull you down or leave you in an addictive cycle that you find really hard to get out of. So in these types of situations, many of us try to look for those temporary distractions. Maybe it's a good movie or junk food, things that distract us from actually dealing with these emotions, feelings, processing it through it, bringing that sense of awareness to it. And unfortunately, these quick fixes or distractions, they end up doing much more harm. Even though you may have people around you that will say, oh, let's just go and watch a movie to cheer you up, but you still have to process through these emotions. And these distractions don't really do that much to actually solve anything. So, one of the reasons I'm making this video is to provide an alternative to these conventional quick fixes that we usually resort to whenever we find ourselves in this emotional turmoil, mental turmoil that often pulls us off the bandwagon and onto the path of destructive behaviors, going off your dietary routine, going off your healthy lifestyle, and finding yourself caught in the trap or repetitive cycle that you find hard to get yourself back on track. So I'm going to share with you 3 powerful techniques that I think really make a profound difference in helping you get a better perspective and get you back on track, or perhaps make you feel better but at a much more deeper level than many of these temporary distractions. Now, number 1 is a very simple exercise, and it's quite unbelievable, but these simple practices have profound effects on our life. And number 1 is actually doing some gratitude journaling, and I mean immersive gratitude journaling, because just allowing it to be a mechanical exercise is going to be pointless and doesn't achieve anything, because I've tried them both. I've tried the mechanical one and it doesn't work. I'm talking about a gratitude exercise that you can allow yourself to immerse yourself into, and try and look for 10 items at least, because it allows you to go much more deeper and really reflect on each item that makes you feel that sense of gratitude. Allow your senses to immerse themselves into the things you can feel grateful for. And it doesn't need to be very complicated things. Maybe you're stuck in a really bad situation and things may look really dire. However, there's always something that we can be grateful for. So, be it the clean air that you breathe. Maybe you're living in a location where the air isn't polluted. You have much more direct access to nature. These are things that we can be grateful for, because not everyone around the world has access to really clean air, access to nature, spending time to immerse yourself into nature. So starting to look for those things that we can really feel grateful for in our lives and immerse ourselves into the feeling of gratitude to say, wow, it's really great that I have, really clean air to breathe. There are many people around the world that are living in highly polluted cities where the air quality is really terrible, and you see these people just having so many respiratory issues as a result of living and working in these types of locations. So whatever example you can think of that really makes you feel that sense of gratitude, allow yourself to immerse into it, and that will hopefully help to shift your emotional state, but at the same time provide you with a little better perspective on whatever issues you're dealing with, and to ground you in a state of gratitude that can hopefully last longer than those temporary quick fixes that we generally resort to. And this is something you can keep on applying. It's almost like a medication. So you can turn it into a fairly regular exercise, be it twice a day if it helps. Do it more often, but allowing yourself to immerse in this very powerful emotional state of gratitude, it can help to provide some long-lasting relief and perspective to our situation. Number 2, a really, really important point to mention. And the reason why it's really important is because many of us tend to fall in this trap, is not to be too hard on yourself. There are many times when we end up becoming our very own torturer. We torture ourselves in our own minds. We become hard on ourselves. We raise the expectations that we place on ourselves and make us feel more and more miserable. Maybe we set so high expectations that we expect success to just manifest instantaneously without having a deeper perspective of many things that we are unaware of. Perhaps it's your karmic load, how much of karma that you're carrying, and how much you need to settle in this lifetime in order to achieve whatever it is that you set your mind on or your goals upon. And when we set these very high expectations on ourselves, when we expect to achieve something and then have our own unrealistic internal timeline that I'm supposed to achieve this within a week, within a month, within a year, it's not taking into considerations broader things that are beyond our perception. We may not be aware of the full karmic load that we're bringing into this life and that we need to work through. And we often end up comparing ourselves to others who may not be bearing that same karmic load. And we end up becoming so hard on ourselves, beating ourselves up, watching other people succeed and thinking to ourselves, why am I not achieving the same level of success when I'm putting more effort, more time, more hard work into whatever I'm doing, but not achieving the results? Or perhaps whatever it is that you're dealing with, but we often end up becoming so hard on ourselves and not really having a real true perspective. And so this is that moment to just take that step back and reflect that maybe I have these unrealistic timelines. Maybe I'm just being a bit too hard on myself, and I just need to allow myself more space, more time to be able to materialize the goals that I've set for myself. And this is something that many of us get trapped into. We set these high expectations and we end up beating ourselves up. So it's a matter of grounding ourselves, coming back to reality and recognizing that there's a lot that we cannot perceive in this life and that we may not be fully aware of that are potentially inhibiting ourselves from getting to where we want to get to. And it's about recalibrating, taking that step back, asking yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? And if it's something that really resonates with you, you'll keep on doing it because there's a deeper passion and drive within you that will carry you through to the achievement of your goal. And we don't need to resort to distractions to give a temporary fix, that we can actually do that deep level inner reflection and start recalibrating within ourselves to set more realistic expectations for ourselves. And even if we don't achieve it, we don't need to compare ourselves to others. So that's number 2, which I think is a really important point if you find yourself in any of these predicaments. And number 3, another really, really powerful point that I often need to take time and reflect more upon, because sometimes we have a mind that just keeps us in a doom loop cycle, thinking that this emotional upheaval is going to last forever, we're never going to get out of it, and it tends to make us feel really, really miserable in those moments. Maybe it's a few days, maybe it's a couple of weeks, maybe it's months. However, we almost get so caught up into the situation. And it's important in those types of situations to reflect on the statement, no matter how hard it can be, but to recognize that this too shall pass. And this is a really important statement that we need to remind ourselves, because when we think about life from this broader picture, we need to recognize that whatever we're going through, there's a bigger reason for it. And it's here to teach you a lesson. And it normally comes in cycles, because we need to think about it also from an astrological perspective to recognize that planets are in constant motion. And as they move to different placements within the zodiac, they bring about a change in the emotional states that you're experiencing, and the circumstances that we face too. Meaning that whatever you're going through shall also pass. There's probably a certain time period that's attached to it. But for us to remember that all of these are bringing some sort of lesson to us. It's about us bringing the awareness into those moments to start to reflect deeply on those lessons, because they will come in cycles in our life. And it's about us using that opportunity to delve deeper into it, to understand the inner emotions, to process through it and come out of it with a state of greater awareness, but also reflecting on the situation to recognize that whatever it is that we're facing, it too shall pass. And in the end, if it doesn't pass, it's going to pass with your death, most likely. So this temporary life is an opportunity to grow as well. It's those moments of difficulty, those moments of challenges that become the catalyst for change. Maybe it's an opportunity to reflect when in your life you experience similar situations, similar predicaments, and how you may not have reacted adequately in those instances. Maybe you took a very negative perspective on it when you were a child and you were growing up. And this is the opportunity to now say, well, it's the same pattern that's repeating in my life, and now I can bring in a better perspective. I can take that step back and recognize the mistakes I've made in the past, so that we don't have this repeating emotional cycles that keep on coming up in our life. Maybe it's a state of deep insecurity that you're feeling, and you can start to recognize that maybe there's an wounded inner child within you that is suffering from this insecurity, and it's your opportunity to now delve into it and start to heal or nurture that inner child within you, so that you can transcend these moments of despair and come out of it stronger, so that we break this pattern or the cycle that we are facing in our life, because it too shall pass. But you don't want it coming back when those same planets start to go through the same zodiac signs in the future, or bring about similar sorts of situations that you need to deal with. Once you know you've dealt with it and you've put it to bed, it'll allow you to work on other issues that you need to work on in life. And so it's important to have that bigger picture perspective, because whatever we're facing in life is a reflection of our inner reality. The circumstances that we face, the people that come into contact with you, it's all a reflection of your inner state. Because sometimes in life you'll notice that people will respond to you in a certain way, even though there may be different situations. Maybe it's people at work, maybe it's people in your family life, maybe it's within your friend circle, and you'll find that so strangely that every one of these groups are reacting to you in a certain way, or projecting certain similar behaviors upon you. And you may be wondering, why is everyone treating me so badly? Why is everyone treating me with a certain level of, or certain emotional trait, or something that brings about a certain emotional trait? Maybe it's a feeling of rejection, maybe it's a feeling of where you just get so annoyed or frustrated with the people that you're dealing with. These repeating patterns are a reflection of something you're dealing with on the inside. If it's people that keep on annoying you, keep on making you angry, it's an anger within you that is reflecting through these relationships, and it's giving you an opportunity to look into it and say, well, how do I bring closure to it? Because it too shall pass. Yes, it will pass, but are you processing through it? Are you using this opportunity to get over that emotional state? Because yes, we need to recognize that everything shall pass, and whatever circumstances, situations, emotional upheaval will eventually pass. But are you using it opportunistically to process through whatever inner turmoil you're going through, whatever deep inner healing needs to take place? And so those are my 3 powerful techniques. And my last ultimate one, for those of you, I'm not trying to sort of push religion or faith on you. However, I think it's really, really important that as you're going through this exercise, to call in for that presence of God, to surrender whatever it is you're dealing with into the hands of God and say that I leave it within your hands to help me deal with it, and to not be overly judgmental in this entire process, to just surrender to that divine, to higher and divine, to help guide you through all that you're dealing with, and to utilize these moments as moments to catalyze your evolution and your overall evolution in this life. So as always, I hope this video has been helpful, and I'll see you in my next video.